All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Nathan Schwausch. I'm the 11th and 12th grade advisor for Sinton High School, and I'm joined today by Aaron Mosley, who is the 11th and 12th grade advisor for Mathis High School. In this video, we're going to be talking about one of the most important parts of the college and senior year preparation process, which is building a college list. The reason I say this is one of the most important parts is because it's important that you develop a list of different schools that you might be interested in applying to, because you don't want to end up necessarily putting all your eggs in one basket and then something happens where you're not able to attend that school because of either cost of attendance or you need to stay closer to home for family reasons. So it's important that you develop a comprehensive and well-rounded college list. So in this video, we're going to talk to you about Match and Fit, which is one of the primary means in which we help students build college lists. We'll help you learn how to create a college list for yourself, building or using Match and Fit. And then we'll lastly show you how to use the Big Future website to help make a personalized college list. So without further ado, let's get started. So Match and Fit is the process of determining at which colleges you will be most likely to succeed based on a variety of academic and non-academic factors, including grade point average, SAT or ACT scores, location, majors offered, extracurricular activities, ethnicity, breakdown of the student body, and so on and so forth. The reason Match and Fit is really important when building a college list is because by using Match and Fit, you're more likely to ultimately graduate from your intended college, because if you find a school that's a good match for you academically, a good fit for you based on some of the extracurricular and social aspects, you'll be more likely to enjoy your time at that college and ultimately earn your degree, which is, of course, the main goal of attending that college or university. So what are the differences? So first, Match, we're looking at more of these academic factors, such as grade point average, class rank, SAT or ACT scores. On the other hand, with Fit, we're looking at some of the non-academic factors, such as majors offered. For example, if you want to study something like animal science, you would have to look at schools that actually offered animal science programs. School size, if maybe you want to go to a smaller school, where that's kind of similar to high school breakdown, high school size that you're used to. Location, if maybe you want to go to a school that's closer to home. Ethnic breakdown, if maybe you're a minority student and you want to go to a school that is designated as a Hispanic serving institution or a historically Black college or university. And then lastly, clubs and activities and athletics. So if there's certain clubs or organizations that you want to be involved in throughout your time at the university, it's important that you do your research to make sure that those are actually offered at different institutions that you are considering. So a full college list should include at least 6 different colleges that range from academic safety schools to academic reach schools. Again, like I said in the beginning, it's important that you develop a comprehensive, well-rounded list, because you need to give yourself options. Because what happens if either you're not accepted into a certain school, you're not able to afford a certain school, or even, some kind of family matter comes up where you need to stay closer to home. It's important that you give yourself options. So the breakdown among the 3 different categories that we utilize are 3 academic reaches, 2 academic targets, and 1 academic safety. So let's look a little bit at what we mean by reach, target, and safety. So with an academic reach, this is a school at which your SAT or ACT score or GPA or class rank falls below the average range of students typically admitted to that school. So for example, we could look at a school like a UT Austin, where they automatically accept top 6%, and that could be considered an academic reach if, say, you're not in the top 6% of your graduating class. You could still apply for that school because there's still a possibility that you could be accepted through holistic review options, or you could still be offered alternative pathway options to ultimately gain admission into that school. but it would be considered a reach because your class rank falls below the average range of students typically admitted to that school. Next, if we're looking at a match school, that is a school or a target school that your SAT or ACT scores or your GPA or class rank meets the average range of students typically admitted to that school. So for example, if we're applying to a school like Texas A&M Corpus Christi, where they automatically accept the top 25% of your graduating class, and you're in the top 25% of your graduating class, that would be a target school. That would be a match school for you because you automatically meet the admission criteria. And lastly, if we're looking at a safety school, that is a school at which your SAT or ACT score or GPA or class rank falls above the average range of students admitted, or for example, a community college would be another example of a safety school, because community colleges are what we call open enrollment, which means that any student that applies is automatically accepted. So thing to keep in mind with a safety is this could be a school where if something happens and you need to stay close to home, you need to go to a local community college, you can't afford to move off to a four-year university just yet, that could be kind of a backup plan where you can stay close to home and you can go to a community college. So let's look at a few tips for building a college list. So first, it's important that you determine what factors are important to you when building a college list, such as, do you want a school that is closer to home? Do you want to go somewhere that's not further than, say, 2 hours away from home, where you can still come home on the weekends if you need to, but it's still far enough away where you can be a little independent? Would you prefer to go to a school that's smaller? Do you feel intimidated by going to a school where, you know, they have like 70,000 undergraduate students? Would that be too big for you? Or would you prefer to go somewhere a little smaller so it's not as much of a culture shock going from a small high school to a large high school? Are there certain majors? Like I said, animal science is not offered at all schools. So for example, if you want to do animal science, you would not really be able to consider a school like UT San Antonio, because they don't have an animal science program or an agriculture program. So those would not be majors that you could study at that school. Or lastly, extracurricular activities. Are there certain clubs or organizations that you want to be involved in? So make sure you consider what factors are important to you when you're considering different schools to add to a college list. That being said, it's also important that you do keep an open mind as you go through the college list building process, because it's important to understand that your preferences and what factors you consider are important, those may change throughout the process. You may initially think that you don't want to go to a big school because you know, it just seems overwhelming, the thought of going to a school like Texas State, where they have, what, 50,000 undergraduate students at least. But then, you know, the more you research the school, you realize, oh, they have so many clubs and organizations, you can almost make the school feel a lot smaller, so to speak. So it's important to understand that you may have some preconceived notions about some of these factors that may not necessarily be totally accurate. And it's also important that you understand that some of your preferences will change over time as well as you do more research. And speaking of doing your research, in addition to doing research online through College Board's Big Future or just Googling about different schools, it's important to even take opportunities to ask those around you that you know have been involved with different colleges or universities about their experiences. So if you know a certain teacher that went to a school you're interested in applying to, you can ask that teacher about their experience at that university when they attended. Or if you know someone who graduated from the high school a year or two ago and they're attending a certain school that you're interested in, you can even ask that student about their experiences with the school, because their experiences are going to be very comparable to what you would be experiencing, because they're attending like, what, 1 year after you graduate. So make sure that you ask those around you about different schools, because that can give you a different perspective than just doing your research online. All right, so now I'm going to pass it over to Aaron, who's going to walk us through an example of how to use college list building and talk us through how to utilize the Big Future college list building resource.
All right, thank you, Nathan. So for this example, we're going to be using the fictitious student Jane. So here we can see some of her information, like her GPA is a 2.7, SAT score is a 930. She doesn't want to move all that far away from home. So somewhere close to Cal Allen is her preference. However, she also likes big cities. She's heavily involved in basketball, and she's interested in majoring in either psychology or kinesiology. So we're going to take all this info that Jane has and put together a college list for her. So let's see what we got. So we're going to go through and explain how we got to these examples, but this could be what Jane's college list looks like. So with her safety schools of Coastal Bend and Del Mar, these are both community colleges, so Jane knows for a fact that she could get in. They're both close to home, so they'd be a really good backup for Jane. Target schools, University of Houston, Victoria, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Both of these are right in there with her SAT scores, so she'd look like kind of the average student. And both of them are still relatively close to home. A&M Corpus would be very close, whereas Houston, Victoria is a little bit farther away, but still meets everything Jane's looking for. And then finally, with her reach schools, the University of Texas at San Antonio and Texas A&M University at College Station. So these are schools, excuse me, that Jane is planning on applying to, even though her SAT score is a little bit lower. But she likes San Antonio, she likes the bigger cities. She's interested in kinesiology, which both schools have great programs. So these could fit in as a good reach school for Jane. She's less likely to be accepted into them, but if she were, then they'd be perfect. So let's talk about how you can build your own list. So Big Future is a wonderful website. It's done by the same people that do the SAT test, College Board. So anything that you see with College Board on it, you can probably trust. They know what they're doing in terms of like pre-college planning. So today we're actually going to be talking about their college list building resource. And you're going to want to create, or you're going to want to sign in. So with this, yeah, right up there, the sign in button. So you want to make sure that you don't create a second account if you already have one. So if you've already taken your SAT, you're going to have an account. If you haven't taken the SAT, then you can create one. And if you're not quite sure, always just click on the need help signing in option. You can search email, reset passwords if you need to. So when in doubt, just use the need help signing in, and it should help you try to find an account if you have one, or lead you to creating one if you don't. So we're going to do the find colleges. So building your college list right here. So this is what the site kind of looks like whenever you get to it. You'll have the different options: location, majors, type, campus life. And then what you're going to be able to do is kind of click through all of these options and add information. So you can add exactly what you're looking for. For the type, college level, this is your 4-year schools or your 2-year schools. College types, public or private. Just because private schools look like they cost more money, you may actually end up getting more financial aid. So don't shy away from putting a couple of private schools on your list. As Nathan mentioned before, if you're looking for any specific college populations, you can mark those on there. And then for majors, this is where you can search for whatever major you're interested in doing. So since there are a lot of different colleges. Not every college calls the same major by the same title. So you might need to spend a little time going through this major section and finding like, okay, this doesn't sound exactly what I've heard this major called before, but it kind of sounds similar. So you can go ahead and put those on there. You can add, remove majors later on in case you have like a couple of different interests. So the major section, spend a little bit of time going through here, putting on all the majors that you're interested in, looking for ones that sound similar, all that kind of good stuff. And then finally on campus life. So big school, small school, urban, rural, suburban, you get to figure out what you're kind of interested in. And if you're not sure, that's totally okay. You can make changes anywhere through this process, being like, oh, you know what, maybe I don't want to go to a big school. You can swap, you can change it. That's the great part about Big Future. It's super easy to change the search criteria. And then finally, location. So definitely want to use the location feature, especially if you're wanting to stay in state. You can do it just any schools in Texas. You can do it from a distance from a zip code. If you put in your zip, you can mark how far away you're willing to go for it. So really utilize the location feature. It can make this much, much easier to look at instead of looking at colleges from all across the country, even some that are outside of the US. It can narrow it down from like 500 schools to 60. So definitely use this. Once you have all of that information in there, these are the filters that we just went through and kind of discussed. It's going to show you the colleges that match the criteria that you input. So it'll start with kind of the bigger schools. So you got Rice, UT, and then work down a little bit from there, other schools that are matching your criterias. So you can sort them and highly recommend you do this. You can do highest graduation rate, SAT range, or even just alphabetical. Doing SAT scores might be a really good option. So you can see like, okay, these are what my SAT scores are. Where do I fit in? So definitely utilizing search features can be great. Once you do find a school that you are interested in, they have this little heart down there at the bottom with add to list. If you click on that option, this will start creating your college list. A lot of the times for seniors, the hardest part of doing applications is figuring out where they're going to apply. They'll have the application started, but then they're like, Miss, I don't know where I'm applying. So creating this college list ahead of time on Big Future gives you pretty much just a checklist of all the schools that you're interested in. So the time comes when you are applying, you can just basically go down the list. Your college list will show you all the schools that you have favorited. And then if you click on one of them, it'll take you to the actual college's little site on Big Future. This has excellent information on it. Since every college website is set up completely differently, sometimes it can be hard to find kind of quick facts and information. Using Big Future to quickly compare different schools, their majors, their graduation rates, all that kind of stuff can be really, really handy instead of having to search and dig through each college's website independently. Big Future allows you to just click through their tabs, the about, admissions, academics. And if you do want to go onto their website, the specific college's website, they have links to it there, like visit college website. So Big Future just consolidates everything and makes it much easier to sort through all the colleges. So we have come full circle. Hopefully, now you can kind of know the difference between match and fit and how they work in picking your colleges. You should know a little bit more on how to actually create a college list for yourself and using Big Future to personalize that college list and make it your own. So if you guys have any questions or want more information or want to sit down with one of your advisors, we would love to. So again, I'm Erin Mosley from Mathis High School, and then we have Nathan Schwausch for Senton. And if you want to learn more about what we do and that kind of thing, we do have our BioFM link here. So thank you, everyone.